Welcome back, friends. We're going to start this breakfast off with the bacon and sausage. Always start with your meat. It takes the longest to cook. Then goes down the corned beef hash. I know what that looks like. It's corned beef. Look, my dog came out like, "Hey man, you put my food on the griddle?" No, it's corned beef, man. Go back inside. Chopped up the corned beef hash. Came out of a can, the way God intended corned beef hash to be made, out of a can. So I just chop it up. Try to get it nice and flat on there. Do it similar to shredded hash browns, where I really want to kind of let it just sit and hopefully get a nice color. Speaking of shredded hash browns, those go down with some oil. Then I use my weight. I always use my weight with the shredded hash browns. The whole griddle's at about 375. I tried to do a big breakfast cook here. You can see it's 364 and put my pancakes up here. I made some mistakes. I'll go over them as you see them. I feel like this is a good way to learn. I may have gone a little too big, a little more than I could handle, but it worked out. There's my pancake gun. Really like that thing. I'll put a link in the description of that. So first mistake I made is that one pancake on the top was too small compared to the other ones. So I'm like, I'll add more to it. It's too late. You can't add more to it. It's going to start falling off the side. See how it's crooked now? So then I add my syrup and that just made it worse. But I'm doing a McGriddle, kind of like, if you haven't figured. That's what it is, so that's why I put syrup in there. Flip over my thick cut bacon. This turned out pretty well. The bacon turned out well. Other things, not so well. Then went down the American cheese on my sausage patty. You can see I'm starting to get the color on the corned beef hash. And then I went ahead and flipped it, but it's still way too early. I should have just left it alone. I mean, you can flip it, but I like it when the corned beef hash gets like a little kind of crust to it. And it got close here, but not where I wanted. And that's because I played with it too much, which you shouldn't do. Then this is my next mistake. I did some water to try to melt the cheese, and I didn't put my dome down. So if you don't put a dome down, aerial view, look, I'm getting fancy. If you don't put a dome down, the cheese isn't melting. So I don't know what I thought was going to happen. So now I have unmelted cheese on my sausage patty, which is never good. The bacon was about done. You can pull it and put it on your little warming rack. That's why I like that rack. It holds my coffee, holds my bacon. It's now going to hold my pancakes. And boom, there goes the sausage with the cheese not melted. Great job. So anyways, it's okay. We're learning from our mistakes. This is how we're going to get better. Happy accidents, not mistakes. So there's our McGriddle in the back. I cleaned the griddle and then I moved everything over. I moved over the corned beef hash to just let it sit. Then I flipped over the hash browns. Those still didn't get as dark as I wanted. I had it at about 375, but I should have let them sit on that side longer. They look pretty good, but not the color I was looking for. Then I'm moving everything over, and I'm still between 375 and 400. All of my burners were on low, and I'm now getting ready to do my eggs. Problem is, I'm still way too high for the eggs, and my spatula's dirty. So I cleaned the spatula and put some water on the griddle to try to bring the temp down in that corner. And I also turned it off. I just turned all of the that whole burner on the top off. Little trick about that egg ring is you want that to be on the griddle the whole time, preheating with the griddle and getting hot. So I got oil in the middle. I'm slow pouring in my scrambled eggs. You'll see where I didn't quite clean the griddle good enough. There's a little dirty black mark on the egg. You'll see when I flip it. But just slow pour it in there for the egg ring as well, so it squirts out of the bottom sometimes, just so you know, with these Cuisinart egg rings. But I found if I slow pour it in there, it usually holds most of it. A little more oil, back to the aerial view. Got my 2 eggs down that I'm going to do over easy for myself. My wife's going to get the omelet. We'll put cheese in it later. I'm doing all this towards the front because, like I said, the griddle is still way too hot. I like to use a little silicone rubber spatula to get my eggs to be separated from the ring so they don't stick. So I just move them around. Oh, almost dropped it in there. And then I kind of scramble them a little bit at the beginning. You can't do this towards the whole time, but a little bit at the beginning. You just move them around and you can see the bottom was not quite setting up on my eggs. So the top was, but the bottom wasn't because it's cooler closer to the grease trough. But you just got to be patient. They still didn't get too brown on me. I was pretty happy with how they turned out, other than one speck that you'll see once I flip them. And then also I lifted it up a little early so you can see the egg rolling out on the bottom. This is another tip. If it does roll out, if you pour it too fast and the eggs go under the ring or something like that, just let it go out, let it cook a little bit, and then scrape it like this. You can use a normal metal spatula and throw it back in top. So even if a bunch goes out, just do that. Let it go out, let it cook a little bit, and throw it back in top. You're going to flip it anyways. I really was not aggressive enough on flipping these eggs. You gotta really just slide under there, and I didn't do a very good job of that. Or you could use your spatula with a beveled edge. And I, learned my lesson that I did not slide under there aggressively. There it goes. Really went after it finally. Just gotta be confident. It's hard, but you gotta be confident. So the ring pulled off pretty well. It still needs to be flipped. I should have used a dome for this as well to help cook the eggs, but didn't, so now I needed a 2 spatula flip, which worked. It didn't break on me. I got it over with both spatulas. We'll take a look at it. You can see right there is the dirty spot, and then it got a little brown towards the top. Not terrible, but there's the dirty spot where the griddle wasn't quite clean when I cleaned it with the water. Put a little cheese on the inside. This is my wife's favorite omelet from First Watch. It gets bacon, and then there is mozzarella inside, and then there is avocado on top. So you'll see at the end. Now you can see here, I finally, since I let that hash sit, you can see it got a nice color there. It got a really nice color. Threw some toast down at the end, way too late. It did not get toasted up. So a lot to learn from this cook. I should have thrown the toast down earlier. I should have let the corned beef hash sit, messed up the pancakes. Bacon turned out great, and that's for my wife, so that's all that matters, right? As long as her bacon turned out good, works out well. Put a little bit more of the cheese on top of there, and then we're gonna plate up her. She got the hash browns, I got the corned beef hash, over easy eggs, and the McGriddle, which is a little lopsided. But hopefully you learned something from my mistakes. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one and keep on griddling.